Welcome to YouTube Pedia. Discover the greatest stories from history, science, and beyond. If you're curious about the world, subscribe now and join our journey through knowledge. Let's get started. Buster Keaton, the rise of a silent genius. In the early light of the 20th century, long before sound echoed through movie theaters and long before CGI dazzled our eyes, there was a man who dared to defy gravity, logic, and even facial expressions. And his name was Buster Keaton. Born Joseph Frank Keaton on October 4, 1895, in Piqua, Kansas, into a family of vaudevillians, Buster was quite literally raised on stage. Legend has it that it was none other than Harry Houdini, the great illusionist himself, who gave him the nickname Buster. After watching young Joseph fall down a flight of stairs unharmed and exclaiming, "That was a real Buster." From that moment, the boy who never cried when he hit the floor began his journey into show business, destined to become one of the most legendary figures in cinematic history. By the age of 3, Buster had already joined his parents in their vaudeville act, The Three Keatons. He played the role of the mischievous child who would get tossed, flipped, and dragged around the stage by his father, often violently but always safely. This rigorous physical comedy routine would become the foundation of his incredible stunt work later in life. But there was something else that stood out: he never smiled. That deadpan expression, later nicknamed the stone face, would become his trademark, a stoic mask behind which an ocean of emotion and absurdity silently boiled. As vaudeville faded and the silver screen began to rise, Buster found his true calling. He transitioned to the world of film in the late 1910s, working alongside another comedy legend, Roscoe "Fatty" Arbuckle. It didn't take long for Buster to steal the show. His genius for timing, physical gags, and camera trickery quickly became apparent. While others were still figuring out how to frame a shot, Buster was leaping off buildings, inventing in-camera effects, and choreographing action sequences with the precision of a dancer and the daring of a daredevil. By the early 1920s, Buster Keaton had become a filmmaker in his own right, writing, directing, and starring in his own productions. And what films they were! Sherlock Jr. showcased his ability to merge dreams with reality as he quite literally walked into the screen and through various cinematic worlds. The Navigator featured Buster battling the sea, lost on a massive ship. And then came The General, a silent epic often considered one of the greatest films ever made. It combined action, comedy, war, and love in a single breathtaking masterpiece, with Buster performing all his own stunts, even as trains collided and buildings crumbled around him. But Keaton wasn't just a clown who took falls. He was a visual poet. He understood space, rhythm, silence, and timing like no one else. His comedy was never just about laughs. It was about precision, about how the human body can defy the odds and how expression doesn't need sound to be heard. While Charlie Chaplin played the romantic dreamer and Harold Lloyd clung to clock towers, Buster Keaton stood firm, unshaken by chaos, never flinching, always moving forward. He was the everyman caught in impossible situations, but he faced them with courage, innovation, and that unforgettable stone face. By the end of the 1920s, Keaton had cemented himself as a true master of silent film. A director, actor, writer, and stuntman all rolled into one. He was fearless. He was brilliant. He was revolutionary. But as the golden age of silent cinema began to fade and the talkies arrived to change everything, the stage was set for an unexpected turn in Keaton's life. Fame is fragile. Genius often goes unrecognized in its own time. And Buster Keaton, the man who once stood tall in a collapsing world, was about to face his own dramatic fall. The fall, redemption, and immortal legacy of a silent legend. As the curtain closed on the 1920s, Buster Keaton stood at the peak of his creative powers. He had crafted some of the most innovative, daring, and beloved films in silent cinema. He was a one-man show, directing, writing, performing, and risking his life for every scene. But the winds of change were blowing through Hollywood, and for Buster Keaton, the storm was just beginning. The arrival of sound cinema, The talkies changed the industry overnight. For many silent film stars, it was a death sentence. But for Keaton, the real blow came not just from the shifting technology, but from a devastating career decision. In 1928, under pressure and financial uncertainty, Keaton signed with MGM, a move he would later call the worst mistake of his life. At MGM, Keaton lost the one thing that made him extraordinary: creative control. No longer could he direct his own films or shape his vision. He became just another actor fed scripts bound by studio rules, stripped of the freedom that allowed him to experiment and innovate. His unique style of humor, his intricate visual gags, and his signature deadpan charm were watered down, diluted by studio interference and forced dialogue. The spark was fading. But the blows didn't stop there. His personal life began to crumble. Keaton's marriage to actress Natalie Talmadge fell apart, leading to a painful divorce and estrangement from his children. Coupled with the artistic constraints of the studio system, he spiraled into alcoholism and depression, numbing the pain of a world that no longer valued his brilliance. The man who had once danced on rooftops and chased locomotives was now struggling just to stay afloat. By the mid-1930s, Buster Keaton was considered washed up. He was fired from MGM. His name faded from marquees. He took small, uncredited roles. At one point, he was even hired as a gag writer anonymously for other comedians. The silent icon had been silenced, but legends don't die, they wait. In the 1940s and 50s, a quiet revival began. As a new generation of filmmakers and cinephiles began to study the early days of cinema, they rediscovered Keaton's silent films and were astounded. Critics, scholars, and audiences alike began to realize what had once been forgotten. Buster Keaton was a genius. His stunts, his storytelling, his mastery of cinematic language were not just impressive, they were revolutionary. Suddenly, retrospectives were held, his classics were re-released. Buster Keaton, older, weathered, but still sharp, found himself back in the spotlight. He began appearing in television commercials, interviews, and even new films. And though the roles were modest, his presence was magnetic. The great stone face hadn't lost his magic. Perhaps the most poetic moment of his rediscovery came in 1957, when Keaton starred in The Buster Keaton Story, a film about his own life. Though the film took liberties with the facts, it symbolized something important. The world was remembering. In 1959, he received an honorary Academy Award, a rare moment of recognition for a man whose contributions had been overlooked for too long. Buster Keaton passed away in 1966, quietly and without fanfare at the age of 70. But his story didn't end there. In fact, his legend has only grown stronger with time. Today, Buster Keaton is celebrated as one of the greatest filmmakers and performers in the history of cinema. Directors like Orson Welles, Stanley Kubrick, and Martin Scorsese have cited him as an influence. His films are studied in universities, referenced in pop culture, and still capable of drawing laughter, awe, and admiration from audiences worldwide. His legacy lives on not only in his films, but in every moment of cinematic wonder that dares to defy the norm, in every risky stunt, every visual gag, every brave, creative choice that puts vision above profit. He paved the way for generations of performers and creators, and he did it all without uttering a word. Buster Keaton's life was a silent symphony of brilliance and heartbreak, innovation and tragedy, failure and redemption. He showed us that even when the world crashes down around you, sometimes quite literally, you can still stand tall, unshaken, eyes forward. And that is why Buster Keaton is not just a comedian, not just a filmmaker, not just a man. He is an immortal icon of cinema. If you enjoyed this tribute to the great Buster Keaton, make sure to hit that like button, leave a comment sharing your favorite Keaton moment, and subscribe to YouTube Pedia for more fascinating stories from the golden age of Hollywood and beyond.